and welcome to The Hindu. I'm Priyali Prakash and you're watching Tipping Point, a weekly series where we dive into climate change events and the trends shaping our future. In this week's episode, we'll take a look at Sonam Wangchuk's march, Hurricane Helene, and a green manifesto for Haryana's election. It's been an eventful week in the capital as climate activist Sonam Wangchuk's Chalo padayatra, a march that he started on foot in Leh on September 1st, reached the national capital amid heavy police presence. In the last 1 year, Mr. Wangchuk has intensified his agitation demanding the implementation of Indian Constitution's 6th schedule in Ladakh. The Bharatiya Janata Party, which has headed the central government since 2014, had promised to bring Ladakh under 6th schedule in its manifestos issued ahead of the 2019 Lok Sabha election and 2020 Ladakh Autonomous Hill Development Council elections. This promise remains unfulfilled. Ladakh was previously protected under Article 370, but once Jammu and Kashmir's special status was revoked in 2019, Ladakh also lost its special status and became a separate union territory instead. The 6th schedule of India's constitution protects tribal populations and provides autonomy to communities to frame laws on land, public health, agriculture, etc. Almost 80% of Ladakh's population is tribal. The schedule is also important to Ladakh because of its fragile ecosystem. Ladakh is a cold desert and extremely sensitive to climate change. People of the region depend on glaciers to fulfill their water needs. A 2021 study found that glaciers in the Pangong region retreated around 6.7% between 1990 and 2019. When glaciers melt quicker than normal, people of Ladakh lose access to drinking water over time. Agricultural practices that are very specific to the region and sustainable practices that support life with less water are also threatened. Unabated development in Ladakh in particular and Himalayan regions in general disrupts the area's ecology, causing forced migration and erosion of local cultures and practices. This march is not Mr. Wangchuk's first rodeo. In February 2023, he undertook a 5-day climate fast to draw attention of leaders towards the demand. In March 2024 again, he undertook a 21-day fast in Leh for the same. The Delhi Chalo Padayatra was initially supposed to end at Rajghat on October 2nd, and Mr. Wangchuk had planned to stage a demonstration at Jantar Mantar in New Delhi on October 3rd and meet supporters in the following days. The march was stopped at Delhi border on the night of October 1st. He was allowed to visit Rajghat late on October 2nd after hours of uncertainty amid heavy police deployment. His movement, however, continued to be restricted until Thursday. This was after the union government informed the Delhi High Court that he had been released from detention. A huge police contingent was deployed outside Ladakh Bhavan in New Delhi and barricades were placed at the entrance. On September 27, Hurricane Helene made landfall in Florida in the United States as a Category 4 storm, which is the second highest level a storm can achieve based on its sustained wind speeds. The hurricane and a rainstorm that battered the southeast United States ahead of it dropped approximately 40 trillion gallons of rain or more than 151 trillion liters of rain on the area, according to US weather expert Ryan Moy. Let's take a look at some context to understand the scale of this. 40 trillion gallons is enough water to supply to New Delhi for 95 years and to Mumbai for 98 years. More than 200 people have been killed due to Hurricane Helene so far, as the storm moved through Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, and Virginia, killing residents as well as first responders, disrupting emergency services, uprooting trees, and breaking dams that led to floods. Hurricane Helene has been slightly unusual in where it was formed. June to November is the usual hurricane season in the Atlantic Ocean. Most storms start further east in the Atlantic Ocean near the coast of Africa. This is because African easterly waves, which are large waves of air moving west from Africa, typically help create storms. But unlike other storms, Helene originated from a low pressure in the far western Caribbean region. On September 23rd, researchers at the US National Hurricane Center first identified an area of thunderstorm activity as a potential tropical cyclone that later evolved into Helene. Over the next couple of days, Helene began to move northwards in response to a high pressure area over Florida and an upper level trough of low pressure moving into the lower Mississippi Valley. It evolved into a hurricane as it passed through the Yucatan Channel and into the Gulf of Mexico. We already knew that water temperature in the Gulf of Mexico was 1 to 2 degrees above normal. The ocean heat content, which is an important indicator of global warming, was also extremely high in the Gulf. These factors make storms worse as they provide more energy for them to grow and intensify. It usually takes a few weeks for researchers to link an extreme weather event to global warming after it occurs, but in the case of Helene, predictions were already doing the rounds before it even made landfall. Like we have pointed out previously too, warmer air holds more water vapor, and overall this results in stronger storms with high wind speeds, more rainfall, and increased chances of flooding. Parts of the US, especially western North Carolina, were already reeling under historical flooding when Hurricane Helene's effects began to show. A heavy line of slow moving showers developed over Atlanta and moved through the southern Appalachian Mountains towards North Carolina. The system was slow and moved along a stalled cold front and was fed by moisture from the fringes of Helene in the south, bringing unprecedented rains to North Carolina, which resulted in overflowing mountain streams, causing flooding in towns like Asheville. High wind speeds of Helene pushed even more moisture up the slopes that were already saturated and also increased the extent of damage in inland areas of northern Florida, Georgia, the Carolinas after it made landfall. The floods in Appalachia have also brought focus on climate change in the US presidential election cycle, a topic which only found a few dull references in the debate so far. Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump visited Georgia earlier last week to gauge the damage caused by the storm. It's also important to note that during his tenure as the US president, Donald Trump withdrew from the Paris Agreement, which is one of the most important global agreements on controlling emissions to regulate climate change. President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris also surveyed North Carolina and Georgia, which are key swing states in the upcoming election. Ahead of Haryana elections, which took place on October 5th, the People for Aravallis group had come up with a green manifesto listing demands related to air pollution, waste management, depleting groundwater level, and the need to protect the Aravallis. The document was prepared in consultation with environmentalists, ecologists, and local stakeholders. We spoke to Neelam Ahluwalia, founder member of the People for Aravallis group, ahead of polling in Haryana.
So essentially, the Haryana Green Manifesto 2024, we analyzed the Haryana State Climate Action Plan in the month of June, and then basis that, and with our understanding of various aspects of environment in Haryana, we made a first draft in the first week of July. And then we actually did this huge stakeholder consultation, and we did it the old-fashioned way. Because most of Haryana is rural, so we actually traveled to 17 districts out of 22 in Haryana. So we covered about 77% of the state, and we met with a diverse we met with diverse stakeholders, rural, urban, both. So a lot of farmers and women and youth and people working, on Jal Jangal Zameen issues, communities impacted by mining, by pollution in our rural areas, communities impacted because of degradation of our, water pollution and things like that. So we met a lot of people like that, also a diverse range of experts. And then we came up with the final draft of the Haryana Green Manifesto, incorporating all their inputs. And in the month of August, we gave it to the top leaders of all the political parties that are contesting the assembly elections this year. In detail, we have spelled out the issues as well as the demands for various aspects, ranging from our extremely low forest cover. How do we increase that? How do we protect the Aravallis and Shivaliks and other open natural ecosystems of the state, then what do we do to improve our extremely dismal groundwater and surface water situation? Then what do we do for improving the food security, as in how do we make our agriculture more climate resilient, considering that, Haryana is extremely climate sensitive. Out of 22 districts, 21 are, as far as the climate risk score are concerned, are medium to high risk. We actually sort of got our inspiration to do this Green Manifesto for Haryana, taking a cue from Goa. They did it about 2 years back when they had their assembly elections. So we had it in mind that when Haryana goes to polls, so we do a similar exercise. Why is it so important? Is the fact that Haryana is the state with the lowest forest cover in the country. We are sitting at 3.6%, whereas the country average is 21%. Where the country wants to get to is 33%. So, we are just sitting at this really low forest cover. And out of this forest cover also, just about half of it is actually legally protected. And then the only two major sort of, ecosystems, which is your Aravallis in the south and your Shivaliks in the north, are hugely threatened. So if something is it's not done immediately, kids in another 5 years will be reading ki ek Aravali Parvatmala hoti thi. So we just thought that it's really important to put these demands. We gave this manifesto document to the senior leadership in the BJP, in the Congress, in JJP, in INLD, in AAP, and there was a farmer leader as well who's contesting elections. So we see that JJP, AAP, and INLD, there is no mention of any point for environmental protection, and that's actually been very disappointing to see that. And as far as BJP is concerned, there is BJP and Congress both, there is a page dedicated to the environment. So we are happy to see that greening of the sort of the politics of both the big political parties actually contesting elections in Haryana. As far as BJP is concerned, there is emphasis on statewide hydrological survey to actually determine the health of the groundwater and then conserve it. Then implementation of the Amrit Sarovar scheme for developing water bodies across different districts in Haryana. Then a statewise survey of the soil health and the measures that can be taken to prevent erosion. Then increasing Haryana's forest cover by developing city forests in all the urban areas. Then in two particular, like they mentioned, like these two sort of protected areas, which is Kalesar National Park and Sultanpur Bird Sanctuary, that anti-poaching measures will be taken there. And then to reduce stubble burning, they have given, a particular point that farmers would be given 1,500 rupees per acre, and village panchayats that transformed from the red zone to the green zone, they'll be given 1.5 lakh rupees annually. So this is as far as the BJP is concerned. Though there is one thing that we are extremely unhappy about, is that they have said that they will go ahead with, it's a bold promise, with the zoo safari park in 10,000 acres of the Aravallis in Gurgaon and Nuh. Now that is something that has been hugely opposed by all the ecologists. As far as the Congress is concerned, so their sort of green promises, a lot of the points that we mentioned in our Green Manifesto have been included by the Congress in their manifesto. So things like, they want to actually, they've written that they want to make a policy for increasing the forest and tree cover. Then to stop the rapidly urbanization process that is happening of the Aravallis and Shivaliks, they want to strengthen the existing rules and laws and implement that strictly. So that's a good thing. Then they want to clean up all our water bodies, rivers, lakes, ponds, everything. And then they've said that, in all the villages where the population is more than 5,000, they will set up sewage treatment plants and also ensure efficient working of the STPs in the city areas. So that's a good thing. These were all the demands that we had made in the Green Manifesto. Then they've said that
Thank you for watching. For more videos like this, please subscribe to The Hindu.